Hey, I'm Brian Yampolsky. This is Real Estate Nuggets, and I'm a mortgage broker in Phoenix, and I interview real estate agents who I know to kind of find out how they got to the certain level of success that they have. And so today I'm going to get to speak to Chuck from Boston. How come you don't have a Boston accent?
I don't have a Boston accent, Brian, but first of all, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. Um,
That's my question. Why don't you have a Boston accent?
I can't say for sure. My father grew up in Brooklyn, New York. My
That
mother
I
grew
hear.
up, yeah. My mother grew up in Roxbury, part of Boston. She went to Girls Latin. My father went to Brooklyn Tech, and then he went to MIT, and that's where they met.
So you were
So
born and raised, have you always lived in Boston or about?
I've, I've always been I grew up in Lexington, Mass. And don't let any Concord, Massachusetts people tell you otherwise, but Lexington is really where it all happened. The
Yeah, we
first
need to
shots were
talk to them.
Lexington. I know. The Concord people always like to take, they just have better press agents than Lexington does. But I've been in the Boston area my entire life, except I went to college in Washington, D.C. at George Washington University.
Cool.
And so, other than those 4-ish
All
years,
right.
I've always been in Boston.
All right. Even though you don't have the accent, I'm going to believe that that's where you're from. I appreciate your time today. We're going to ask you some questions and get to know you a little bit. And hopefully, some people watching this will learn a couple of things, just like I did when I talked to you. What was it, a year or two ago? Probably 2 years ago.
Yeah, we were at a real estate conference for the top lenders and realtors across North America, and I
Yep,
was
they
a
let us
syndicate
in.
group leader, and they let you in because you deserve to be there, and
Mm.
I was a syndicate group leader, and you're my group. We
All
made a
right,
lot of fun.
here we go then. For starters, like I told you, I want to just give you a minute to say, tell everyone how you ended up getting into the real estate business, because that's always kind of an interesting. No one ever really grows up saying, "I want to be a realtor," but how did you get in?
Sure. I was actually in fine dining in the hospitality business. Uh, I've always been an entrepreneur. In fact, when I was in college, I did publish magazines, guidebooks for college students.
Hmm.
And then I worked with my brother and sister-in-law in Northeast Connecticut, which I still lived in Boston, and did kind of innkeeping with them. They were a wedding facility, so I kind of did weddings and hospitality. And I was there for a few years, and then I decided to leave them because I kind of done what I wanted to do. And I started working for a real estate magazine publisher back when there were magazines. And I
Hmm.
ran the sales department. They did something called Just Rentals and Just Property, and realtors were my clients, and I sold ads and I ran the sales department. Then a few years later, I'd kind of gone as far as I could go there. My brother and sister-in-law opened up a fine dining restaurant, and I went back and I ran the restaurant, and we ended up cooking at the James Beard House, and so I ran the dining room at the James Beard House, which was kind of the pinnacle of when you're in fine dining from the front of the house perspective.
Hmm.
And you know, the restaurant business is the best experience for real estate because in the restaurant business on a Saturday night, if you have a problem at 7 o'clock, you've got 2 minutes to solve it.
Mm.
In real estate, you have all day. And then my brother and I opened up a fast casual concept called Paris Creperie, of which I went and ran. And so, after a few months, they wanted to focus on their businesses. I wanted to do it by myself. So I bought them out and then moved Paris Creperie to Brookline, which is my hometown. And then after a few years of kind of running that restaurant, I didn't want to be in the restaurant every day anymore. And so the guy I worked for in the real estate magazine said, "Hey, you should get into real estate brokerage." And I did. And that was 20 years ago. And so I've been doing it for 20 years and I still own Paris Creperie. And a year ago, we opened up a cocktail bar called Bar Lunette, which has been cited by Eater and Boston Globe. And so I have somebody who runs the restaurants. I'm never there as I'm too busy in real estate, but I still have them. I still have Paris Creperie and Bar Lunette.
There is no question that the real estate business is hard. And I think a close second, and sometimes maybe even in first position of the hardest business, is the restaurant business. And you're in both.
Food and shelter. I just need water now.
There you go. Good. I like that. All right. So now that I know your background a little bit, think back to when you started in real estate, like your first year or two, or maybe even three. Do you remember what your biggest challenge was back then?
Yeah, and I had a great first year. And a lot of people don't necessarily say that.
What made it a
And
great first year?
for me, because I made the commitment that I was going to be in the office and that I was going to work as hard as I could and try to suck up as much good info from people as I can. So every day I would get to the office by 8 a.m., 8:15 a.m. And I would sit myself outside the sales manager's office because I knew that when he got a lead, he'd look up and I wanted to be the first person he saw.
Hmm.
So that's how I did it. I made $52,000 my first year. That was in 2005, which was a pretty good first year.
Yeah.
And I just started growing and I got into the Brian Buffini system, in 2006 and have been working by referral ever since. And
Hmm.
so for me, I think what makes me different is I take a very strategic, very business-like approach to my entire practice, and I work by referral, which is
Hmm.
which is 95% of our business. And so I just think that I would just outwork everybody. And
That's
that
an
first year,
your answer is different than what I'm used to hearing other people say when they talk about what their biggest challenges were because um, you solved your challenge, which was inexperience. You were new. You solved it with proximity. You put yourself in the right position physically, right next to the person who could help you get some things in the air, right?
that's right. I would outwork everybody. I would show up every day. I work 7 days a week, and I would work open houses for other agents. And in those days, I was really good at open houses. I could pick up one buyer at every open house. And I just always took this strategic approach and always put my clients first.
Did you ever face rejection back then?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I
How
still
did
do.
you?
I mean,
Yeah, you still do. We all do. How do you handle rejection?
listen, I think the key thing for people in any sales focused business is if the one win will outweigh mentally the multiple losses, then you can be successful. So that's how I was able to do that, is to stay focused. And listen, it still kills me when I lose a deal. It still kills me when I don't get hired. It still kills me when I see a property come to market that was my client. It still kills me.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that it's just about feeding in and working with the people that know, like, and trust you.
Yeah.
And if you and how you feel like I was like, and I was, it really kind of hit me hard this year because I was in this house. It was a small transaction. Our average sales price, just for some perspective, is about 1.1. And this was a property selling for 650,000.
Okay.
And I'm in the house and I'm doing the walkthrough. And it wasn't a grueling transaction, but it had its warts, it had its things. And to see how happy these buyers were,
Hmm.
we make a difference for people.
Oh
So
yeah.
we help these first time buyers buy a house. Even though I was on the listing side and I work for the seller, the joy that I encountered was like, this is why we do what we do, to help people achieve their real estate and financial goals. And so if you can hold on to that, it's all going to be good.
When you go to the dentist for a cleaning, or when you go to lunch, or when you go do whatever you do, those are things that we all do. But buying a house is a big deal, and like you said, especially the first time. So you're right. You're a participant, even a catalyst in helping change those people's trajectory. So you're right, 100% right. Was there a specific time or turning point in your career when you felt like, okay, I'm no longer, a beginner now. I kind of feel like I've got my oh, I was going to say groove, but no, got your momentum going.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple different things along the way. Um, I would say that there was two transactions in particular. One was I met this first time home buyer and kind of helped her get into a brand new property, and I negotiated, getting new floors, a new subfloor. And so I kind of saw that I could bring my business and service skills to bear and make a difference.
Hmm.
And then I had this client, and all she wanted to do was to buy a two family so that her and her ex spouse could live in the building and the kid could go back and forth.
Oh, wow.
And the ex-spouse was not necessarily as enthusiastic about the whole plan as my client was.
Yep.
And so and this was a time in the market when there was no two families to buy. It was
Hmm.
very short inventory. And so I went and called every expired, canceled, and I finally drummed one up and we saw all these properties. The first thing we would do when we walked into a building is not go through the units, but go to the back hallway and see the up and down stairs. That was our
Hmm.
first criteria. And then I had to get that under contract and then sell both of their units.
Hmm.
So it was very complex, but we got to the destination, and that was really like, yeah, this is how I can make a difference, and because I really looked at not just this is a real estate transaction, but this is how we impact people's lives.
Yeah. That's a great
And
story. How
yeah,
long ago was that? How long ago was it that you helped that client?
that was probably 15 plus years ago.
Yeah. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Um, you and I were talking before we pressed the record button, and you were telling me how this year's been a good year so far. Um, but you have slow periods, right? You have periods of time when business is slow, right?
Not often, but
I mean,
it's
just by definition of the word, there are going to be times that are slower than others. There are times that
yes,
are busier than others. So my
yes.
question is, when you have slow times, whether it's a week or two or a month or two or whatever, when it's slow, how do you stay productive?
Well, I think you have to understand the season and always stay focused on what the goal is. And like for example, the fourth quarter is a notoriously slower time in the real estate market, at least in Greater Boston. Obviously, vacation areas are different. But we would say, okay, we're going to attack the fourth quarter, and we know that this is the best time for buyers to buy in this market because they can save 5%. So we pour into our buyers and focus on buyer transactions and try to enjoy a little bit of a break or a breath. But yeah, we've been going straight really since November.
There's somebody used to talk about the difference between working in your business versus working on your business. And I think sometimes we can get, like during busy times, it can be so busy that you're just doing everything you can to keep up. And then when it slows down, sometimes working on your business, doing the things that you had planned on doing. At the beginning of the year, you set all your goals and you think, I'm going to do all these things. Sometimes it's helpful to revisit and work on the business during the slow times, is what I've found. Um, but yeah, it's an interesting industry. Both yours and mine are similar in in the way that it's not a linear progression. We're not busy every minute of every day of every week of every month. There's no salary. You have to, what do they say? Eat what you kill.
So here's a more specific answer to your question. I think is the fourth quarter. I do try to do the 12-week year
Mm,
and really set some lead generation goals and really try to hold myself accountable.
hmm.
And that's what we did the last two fourth quarters. And because of that, we entered 2026 with probably 16 signed listings.
Wow.
So the slow time in from a transaction standpoint, you have to use to really double down your lead generation
Yep.
because what the fourth quarter is the most important quarter of the year to me because that sets up the entire year.
Hmm.
So you can't just wake up in February and say, "Hey, we're in the spring market. I got to get cooking now." You have to plant the seeds October, November, December, so that your January, February, March can be as strong.
Yeah, that's
And,
true.
and so that'll be our goal for the fourth quarter again, is to knock off some buyer deals. Like to me, a closed transaction in December, January is worth double to me from a cash flow standpoint.
Why? What
And
do you mean?
so Um, our Greater Boston is certainly more seasonal. You know, we don't have the luxury of being able to be in Phoenix with beautiful weather 12 months of the year, which means that, the
It gets
winter,
cold once in a while.
yeah, don't start with me about what your cold
I,
versus my cold.
it's been in the 40s occasionally.
Oh, come on. So, so in those times, you have to really double down on your focused lead generation
For
because
example, for
for
example,
example, we have several client parties. In September, we do an ice cream truck. And I know you're looking at me like September. Just note that New England eats more ice cream in the winter than the rest of the country eats during the summer combined. So we do an ice cream truck event in September, which is great. It comes to our house and people come. It's awesome. We do our pie party in Thanksgiving week. We do it at our house. So we combine the reverse pie party with a client party.
Hmm.
And the other thing we've done this year is we've done 4 cocktail classes because I happen to own a cocktail bar. I can do
Hmm.
that where we then Saturday afternoon when the bar's closed, I bring in a group of 12 or 13 clients and we do a cocktail series and it's a lot of fun. So we've really stepped up our parties and stepped up our lead generation
Yep,
and staying consistent to that. But yeah, the fourth quarter is all about getting ready for the next year.
that's great. You're doing it right. Um, I don't know. All right, so you've got family, you've
Yep.
got multiple businesses. How do you maintain balance between your businesses and your family?
I don't do that well.
Hmm.
I am not going to be the guest that you have on your podcast that's going to help people balance better because
Hmm.
I work 7 days a week. And beside having the cocktail bar, the cafe, I'm a partner in a property management company. And I also previously, me and my partners owned our 3 offices that we sold 2 years ago, so I don't have to do that anymore.
Hmm.
But I am admittedly not great at balance and balancing. I try, and travel is important. Lauren and I just got back from a trip to Santa Barbara. Uh, I'm trying to do better at that and to really, lock in and be more present. And so we've really been trying to make sure, like at every night, we take Fred for a nice walk. We try to get him to the dog park. We try to get him to the beach. We try to do all those things. Um, so I am trying to do more of that. I'm trying to take more time off which is these trips,
Hmm.
which is great. We just came back, and so if we can increase our travel, I think that can create more balancing. And I just, I was recently we unfortunately attended a funeral recently for one of Lauren's very close friends who died in her 50s, and it was very sad.
Hmm.
And you leave funerals, and you always think, well, what can I do to really be more present in our lives? And yeah, we want to try to be more present with people. We want to try to be more present with each other. And one of the things that was kind of my kind of aha in that was yes, we have to do that, but my purpose is to take care of my clients.
Hmm.
Obviously, your greatest purpose is to take care of your family,
Hmm.
but my professional purpose, and I like to say this all the time, is I am put on this planet to protect my clients from the a-holes of the world. That's my mission statement.
And it's a full-time job.
And it's a full-time job because people rely on you as their trusted advisor.
Hmm.
But I think we're trying to do a better job creating more time at home to be focused in our relationship, to travel. And so it's a work in progress. I'm not
Okay.
perfect and I'm not a great example, but we're trying to do better at that every day.
Well, and you use the word balancing as opposed to the word balance. And I think that's insightful because it's not as if you attain balance and then you're there and it stays that way. It's a never ending effort to try and maintain that, which is balancing instead of balance. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean,
It's tough. I don't know that I have any advice for you on how to get there, but there are times in your life, like the one you just shared with us, where you kind of get a shock back to perspective. When someone passes away, and you think, all right, what do I really want the rest of my time to look like?
that's exactly right. And so, nobody's ever going to be perfect. And, I'm trying to, in my business, is get myself off the wheel, so to speak.
Hmm.
Because every day you wake up and you got to make a certain amount of money to float your proverbial boat.
Hmm.
And so and that's kind of why I so attacked the fourth quarter last year, because I needed to be in a position. I had certain financial goals. I'm now throwing a wedding. So, I mean, there's just, it's always something. And so our plan is that once we get through January 2027, we're going to then, we've come to some goals. We got two big goals for us personally. One is, and this is the first one is kind of a professional and personal goal. And I've had this goal, which I'm working on with my coach, is I want to be somewhere else in December, a December, where I want to work remotely for 30 days. And so we have pretty much put the line in the sand that December of 2027, we are going to be, Lauren, me, and Fred are going to be somewhere else working remotely, whether that's in California, whether that's in a foreign country, whether that's even just in New York or DC. We're going to be working remotely. So that's a big goal. And the second is, we were fortunate. My brother has a house in Wellfleet, which is the Cape. Now, I do prefer Maine for full disclosure. The lobster rolls are better in Maine than they are in Cape Cod. That is undisputable. I'm a foodie, as you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
And Fred really loved the water. And so we've got to get ourselves doesn't have to be big, but something that we can go to that's ours that we can get Fred to the beach because he is our part of our joy.
Yeah.
And so that's where we've got committed to these two goals once we get through the wedding.
I would say you could work remotely from Phoenix, but in December it's pretty cold here. So I don't know. I don't know if you'll be able to handle it. All right, you're really doing great, man. Let me see if I can stump you with one of these questions. Um, your if you think back about how many years you've been doing this, what was your biggest failure, and how did you recover from it?
There was one major catastrophe that's been a big that I took from. So about 15, as I think about this, there is one. So about 15, 16 years ago, um, we got so in Greater Boston and Massachusetts, lead paint is a huge bugaboo. Less
Hmm.
so in your area because most everything is new, whereas everything in Massachusetts built before 1978 may have lead paint somewhere.
Right.
And it's like there's a lead disclosure, and every buyer has a right to test for lead, and no agent, no seller, nobody can tell them they can't.
Right.
In many cases, the lead status is unknown because nobody's tested, and in many cases, buyers will waive it because they're not going to test it. So we had this, we got the lead disclosure, and it may not have been right, and then it didn't get signed. And then after we signed the purchase and sale agreement, the seller updated the lead disclosure to saying known lead-based paint. And it was a major calamity. It was a major screw up. Um, Ultimately, my name's on the door, so everything is goes back to me. The transaction coordinator we had at the time missed it, and we didn't get the client signed it right, and I ended up having to give my whole commission to help fix the lead issue, which was like
Mm.
$6,000.
Yeah.
And from there, we've developed a very clear system so that when the purchase and sale agreement, now Massachusetts is different than every other state in the country. We do an offer first, followed by due diligence, followed by the purchase and sale agreement, where everybody else does a P&S right away. So in our calendar, we now say P&S on this date for this property have lead, don't have lead, don't need lead. And so that's how we have created the process to make sure that never happens again. So if a property is newer, it doesn't need lead because it's after 1978.
I like that you've learned and implemented things in your process to make that $6,000 a learning experience instead of just a loss.
It wasn't fun at the time, and yes, we now create these systems to do that.
Yep. Good. 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 All right. So I met you at a Buffini conference. You've been in Buffini coaching for how long?
20 years.
20 years. Um, what's your experience been like with business coaching?
Phenomenal.
Why?
Uh,
Why phenomenal?
Twofold. One, so the overarching comment is your coach has your back. I've gone through some difficult things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Went through a divorce, lost my first dog,
Mm-hmm.
and without my coaches, I don't think I could have
Mm-hmm.
got through them. I would say that, real estate and lending, it can be very isolating because we are our own bosses,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. And so having somebody that keeps you accountable and keeps you on track and helps pull the best out of you. I can't imagine someone going in this business not having a business coach.
Yeah.
My production certainly warrants that, and you can see that how the coach has helped me grow. And I'm now in leadership coaching, and 2025 was our best year ever,
Mm.
and we're already 100% ahead in 2026 over 2025.
You're doing something
So
right.
but the coach is there for you. The
Yeah.
coach has your back. The coach has made me a better leader, made
Yep.
me a better realtor, made me a better business person. And having those calls is like your port in the storm.
Well, if I didn't know what business coaching was like, and you told me you've been doing it for 20 years, it would make me think it must be worth doing. You wouldn't be doing something that wasn't worth it for 20 years, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that the Brian Buffini and Company coaching program is the best value on the market. It's the
Yeah.
best coaching on the market. And I would say that we met through this process in these various events we have. And I would say, as a referral source, my Buffini colleagues around the country are a huge part of my business. When I think about the pillars of my business, it's my Buffini referrals, my core seven financial professionals. I do a lot of referrals from financial advisors, CPAs, lenders, because we build everything to help someone's financial plan. And
Hmm.
then my own database of referrals. That's how we work, by referral, 95+%.
I love your core advisors. That's the thing I learned from you. Except mine's different. Mine's called my 6 core advisors. Yours is 7.
Well, but you're one of the seven. I'm one of the seven.
Yep.
This,
Tell
you've
me who
got,
tell me who your 7 core are.
so realtor, lender, closing attorney. And this is why you have six and I have seven, because you
Yep.
guys use title escrow companies. We use attorneys for that feature.
Yep. Okay.
CPA, estate planning attorney, financial advisor, property and casualty.
Yep.
Those are your
Okay.
seven.
All right. That makes
Why
sense
you've
now.
got six.
Yep.
And, having a team of people to support someone in what's their largest financial transaction
Hmm.
is really what's key. And
Yep.
so, how one year I did 18 closed transactions from financial advisors.
Wow. That's amazing.
And the other thing that we do is I just want to be a resource for my teammates, which
Hmm.
means for our lender partners, let's say you've got somebody that wants to do a refinance, but not sure if it's actually going to work. I'm
Yep.
happy to do the equity assessment to say, yeah, it's going to work or not work. And
Hmm.
it's just one more person I can put in my database and one more person I can market to, and maybe they'll refer me.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing when you're talking to your business partners is, yes, I love to get a referral for buyers and sellers. I mean, we've developed an expertise for the sell by. We do that really well, where we help coordinate. That's really where you bring everybody in, is during a sell by. But I just want you to refer relationships.
Yeah.
Like, we worked with this estate planning attorney who could not figure out how to refer. I'm like, okay, stop trying to think about referring me real estate transactions. Think about referring me so I can make you look good. So they referred me one of their clients who was trying to figure out whether they should put new windows in their three-family building. And I did the analysis to show them what they should and shouldn't do. It
Hmm.
wasn't a transaction, but I made the attorney look good, and now there's somebody in my database who can refer me.
Yep. Yep. Perfect. All right. We got the last one. Do you have an exit strategy?
You know, we've been thinking about that. And I think my exit strategy for me is that what I love the most is doing the deals, negotiating, and solving the problems and coming up with the plans. I think that my exit strategy is to get myself out of the daily grind. And this is part of why being somewhere in December is going to be a step to that. Is we've got a team of 8 right now, which I've built over the last year or two. We've always had a small team, but we've really focused on making it bigger. I want to make the team a little bit bigger. Um, my goal is not to be what Aaron West is with the mega team, and Aaron's fantastic in Modesto. He's amazing at it because that's his skill set. My
Hmm.
skill set is doing the deals,
Yeah.
writing the offers, doing the negotiating. That's what gets me going in the morning. That's
Hmm.
what gets me. I my whole mantra is I don't believe in the no-win scenario, Captain Kirk. So my exit strategy is to do more of that and get myself out of the day-to-day grind, but be the guy that does the meetings, does the offers, does the strategy, and does why I'm here.
You are doing, I was going to say, it's not that you're doing something right. You're doing a lot of things right.
We got a lot to learn still. There's a lot of things we're doing wrong. We still have work to do.
Always. But I appreciate you taking the time to kind of share some of them with me and whoever is listening to this podcast. But Chuck, you are an amazing person. So thanks for your time.